Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Sarah, and I'm part of the team here at Test Innovators. So today's focus for our webinar is studying for the SSAT over winter break. So without further ado, I'd like to tell you a little bit about what we do here at Test Innovators, and then we'll dive right in. So we've helped over 150,000 students prepare for entrance exams and get into the most selective schools. We also work with many tutoring companies, educational consultants, and schools. Okay, so today we're going to be covering general preparation guidelines, tips for effective practice, overall test strategies, section-specific strategies, as well as test day advice. Throughout the webinar, please feel free to type any questions in the Q&A. If we have time at the end, I'll answer those questions, but if there are any that I don't get to, I'll be sure to email you a response. This webinar is being recorded, and I'm going to email a copy of the recording out after the webinar so that you can review anything that you would like. Okay, so first we will discuss general preparation guidelines. Whenever you're preparing for a test, step one, take a full-length practice test. You want to make sure the test is accurate, provides normative scoring, and tracks timing information. Taking a practice test, no matter when your official test date is, will give you familiarity with the test style, difficulty, and content so that you know what to expect. So once you've taken this full-length practice test, you will want to review the results. The review process is possibly the most important step in your test preparation. This is the place where you're going to learn the most. You want to identify the areas that need the most improvement. So you're going to go back through the test and review every question you answered incorrectly or skipped, read the answer explanations, and make sure you know how to do that question if you were to see something similar again. I also recommend reading, reviewing the answer solutions for every question that maybe you struggle with but ended up getting correctly. This is important because you can either confirm that you do understand how to do it, or maybe you guessed and you still don't know how to do the problem. So you'll want to be able to make sure you know how to do that if that comes up again next time. And then you want to learn test-taking strategies to understand how to arrive at the correct answer and how to avoid choosing any of the wrong choices. So you're going to study the relevant strategies for, I would say, both the questions you missed or skipped or the questions you got correct. So it will help you when you go to take the next test, figure out how to do even better. So step 3, do targeted practice. So focus on those areas you identified in the previous steps, and then practice those specific question types until you're confident with those skills and, with the new strategies you've learned. And then you're going to repeat. So you're going to want to repeat steps 1 to 3, taking a full-length practice test, reviewing the practice test, and then do targeted practice until test day. One recommended study schedule is to do 1 practice test a week and then complete the recommended practice exercises in between. Next, we're going to go over some tips for effective practice. Number 1, don't forget to take a break. Relaxation and sleep are important so that your brain can function effectively while you're working. One great thing you can do that sort of helps with both studying and relaxation is reading. So reading will help you build a strong vocabulary and strengthen your reading comprehension skills, but it's also relaxing. So if you pick up a book you enjoy, read it, that can actually be an important part about important part of your studying, and it can also help you be more relaxed. And, of course, a book doesn't have blue light. It's not a backlit screen. So if you're reading a book or something that's not backlit, that can also help you sleep a little better. Okay, tip number 2, practice a little bit every day. Sometimes practicing a bit every day is better than just cramming for hours at once. So, frequent shorter practice sessions can be more effective than one long practice session. And, find times in your day that you can fit in a bit of practice. So even if you're, doing a more of an accelerated practice schedule over winter break, you want to still break that practice up into smaller chunks because you'll be able to absorb the information a little better. Okay, let's talk about the various ways you can take the SSAT. So there are several ways you can take it. You can, make sure you check out which options are available in your area by visiting the EMA site at SSAT.org. The EMA is the organization that administers the test. So you have in-school options, sometimes paper or online. You could take it at an ISE office, both on paper online, a Prometric site, as well as at home. Please note that the computer testing at both Prometric centers and at-home testing is only available for the middle and upper levels. Elementary students have to take the test on paper at a member school or with an approved educational consultant. So at-home testing is also currently available in US and Canada, though definitely check SSAT.org for the most up-to-date information here. So they have recently as well increased the number of times you can take the test. You can take it up to 11 times in a year, and the year starts in August and ends in July. So the SSAT year runs from August to July. You can take it 3 times at home or at a Prometric center, 6 standard tests. So, at a school, and then there are 2 sort of flex dates you can take it. So that's a total of 11 times you can take it from August to July. The paper and online versions of the test have the same structure and content, but of course the format is different and how you take the test is slightly different too. So how you're going to prepare for each format is slightly differently too. So if you're taking the test, if you're planning on taking the test on paper, it's best to prepare on paper. If you're planning on taking the test on the computer, it's best to prepare on the computer. Okay, now we're going to discuss some overall test strategies. The first strategy is the process of elimination. So don't forget to use the answer choices. These tests are multiple choice tests. So the correct answer is there. Don't forget to use the answer choices to help you find the correct one. If you don't know the answer, eliminating answer choices is a great start. In part, you eliminate answer choices, you've then increased your chance of choosing the correct answer. So after you've eliminated the choices are wrong, make an educated guess. And then move on. So because using your time effectively on the test is critical. Remember that every correct answer gives you the same number of points. Easy questions, if you get an easy question correct, you'll get 1 point. If you get a hard question correct, you'll get 1 point. So every question is worth the same number of points. So that's 1 point. So your goal is to answer as many questions correctly as possible. Just to say, don't waste valuable time on a hard question when you could instead answer 3 easy questions correctly in the same amount of time. So how do you deal with this? Your first step will be to group questions by difficulty, easy and hard. Every time you read a question, ask yourself, do I know how to do this? If the answer is yes, absolutely, do the question. If the answer is maybe or I'm not really sure, mark an answer for the question and circle it in your textbook to come back to later. So marking an answer helps you avoid having your bubbling sheet get off on your answer sheet. This is key when taking a paper test because you don't want to, skip question 5 and then, put question 6 answer and question 5, and then have everything be off after that. So make sure you have a placeholder answer, and then, come back to it later. So you're going to do this for every section. With this strategy, you answer all the easy questions first, and then go back and do the hard questions that you skipped. Okay, so skipping question, again, ties in with the time management strategy. When you do skip questions, come back to them later, it is important to make sure you don't get off track on your bubble sheet, as I said. So one way to prevent this is to bubble in an answer for the question you skip and mark the questions in your text booklet so you know to come back to it later. Next, we're going to go over helpful strategies for each section of the test. The preparation strategy for the verbal section depends on the amount of time you have to prepare. With only a short amount of time to prepare, your time will be best spent practicing some strategies for the synonyms section. Think of your own answer first and then eliminate the wrong answer choices. So that's the main strategy, is to, practice thinking of your own answer first and then looking at the answer choices and narrowing things down based on what you first decided. So if you have more time, studying vocabulary is also a great idea. So make sure you're using a vocabulary list that's at the right level. And then additionally, learning root words can be beneficial since roots apply to many different words. So, such as Greek and Latin roots. And as I mentioned before, this strategy, this synonyms, think of your own answer first and then eliminate wrong answer choices. This is a really valuable strategy. And this is what I would recommend if you only have a short amount of time, practice that strategy. It can make a huge difference. So for the analogies, it can be helpful to make phrases or sentences to connect each pair of words. So that's also a great thing to practice, so you're, for each first pair of words, make a sentence, and then seeing how, then you can sort of see the relationship between the second pair of words. Okay. There are several helpful strategies for the math questions. So number 1, you want to read the questions carefully and underline the important information. This includes words and numbers indicating the quantities, relationships, and calculations that you'll need to answer the question. So really important to make sure you practice reading the questions carefully. For some questions, the jumping off point is in the answers, so it can be helpful to work backwards. For questions with an unknown quantity, you can substitute the answer choices for that unknown quantity to see which is correct. You always want to start with the middle answer here because it'll minimize the number of answers you have to substitute. So if you found that the middle answer is too big, you need to look for a smaller answer, for example. Estimation is a powerful tool for eliminating wrong answers. So for every question before beginning to solve, have a ballpark idea of what you think the right answer should be. And that can really help you narrow things down. So particularly if the answer choice spread is really, the range is really broad. So should it be closer to 1 or 100, that sort of thing. Sometimes the math questions may seem very challenging to solve abstractly. In cases like these, it can be helpful to use actual numbers to determine the answer. Finally, check to make sure you answered the given question. For every problem after you finish solving, look back at what the question is asking you to find and make sure this matches your answer. For example, is a question asking you to solve for x or solve for x minus 2? So you just definitely want to make sure you answered the right question. Okay, now let's talk about some reading strategies. So the most important rule of reading comprehension is that the passage will always provide all of the information needed to answer the question. If any part of an answer choice doesn't match the information given in the passage, it is incorrect. So you're always going to need to find evidence for your answer in the passage. So whenever possible, after you read a question, come up with an answer before you look at the answer choices. This will help you eliminate wrong answer choices and find the best answer. And something else that's really helpful is, you want to, in general, avoid answer choices that are too extreme. So if you see answer choices with words like only, always, never, or other extreme words, these are unlikely to be the correct answer. So you should only choose them if you're sure, if you're absolutely sure that the sentiment is in the passage as well. So be careful when you see, extreme words in the answer choices. It's a red flag. Okay. So finally, let's talk about some writing strategies. So the writing portion of the SSAT is not scored, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't prepare for it. So it's not scored, but it is sent to the admissions departments along with your score report. So it is important to, prepare for it as you would the other parts of the test. So you want to choose a topic that showcases something you care about and are familiar with. Remember to write in a way that shows you in a positive light. This is your chance to show the school who you are outside of school. There's only a limited time to write, so managing your time effectively is incredibly important. So you want to start by spending the first 2 to 5 minutes outlining your work. After you have a plan, go ahead and get writing. This is where you're going to spend the bulk of your time. You'll need to watch the clock and save yourself 2 to 5 minutes at the end for review. Your essay should have a clear, focused topic that directly answers the given question. It should be structured much like the essays you've written in school, with an introduction, 2 or 3 body paragraphs, and a conclusion. Your writing should include examples and specific details that make your writing come alive. Lastly, we want to go over some advice for test day. So the day before the test, it is important to relax. Don't try to cram everything in the last minute practice. And, I know we're getting to that time of year, but still, try to relax a bit and don't try to cram everything in right before the test. So a great way to relieve stress is to exercise. It will also help you sleep well. It's best to gather everything you'll need on test day the night before. That way you don't forget anything and you aren't rushed on the day of the test. And, for me at least, I'm always nervous the night before I fly for a trip. So I always like to gather everything. Otherwise I'll, wake up in the middle of the night. So that goes to the next point. It's really important to sleep. So you're going to want to sleep the entire week before the test. In fact, studying over winter break is great, but also sleeping over winter break is great. So winter break is a great time to catch us up on some sleep as well. So make sure you're sleeping well the entire week before the test and, as much as possible leading up to the test. It is actually an incredibly important part about studying. So it's important to bring the following to the testing center if you're taking it in person. You'll want to check the COVID safety requirements for your testing site. And this is, incredibly important now with a lot of states sort of reinstating some restrictions. This is obviously going to depend on where you are, but make sure nothing's changed. So you'll definitely want to check the safety requirements for your testing site close to the day of, in case any of that information has changed. You'll need your verification letter, which can be printed from your online account, your identification, such as a birth certificate, passport, social security card, or school ID, 4 number 2 pencils with good erasers. You'll also need to bring blue or black ink pens. And then finally, you'll want to bring water and a snack in a clear container. It is a long test, so it definitely is a good idea to have something to drink. So have some water and a snack that you can have during one of the breaks to, keep energy up. Okay, so what should you not bring? This is just as important to know what not to bring. So this will include all electronics, such as calculators, cell phones, fitness tracker bands, media players, all watches, and you shouldn't bring personal items such as a backpack, a bag, or a purse. Don't bring hats. And then, essentially any other item not listed as an item to bring. So notes or paper, mechanical pencils, that's pens for the SSAT. I misspoke on the previous slide there. That's if you're also taking the ISEE, you do want to bring a pen, but no pens for the SSAT, no books, no rulers. Basically, anything that's not listed as an item of something to bring, you should not bring. For at-home testing, you're going to need a quiet space with a desk or table, computer, laptop with a webcam and reliable internet access, identification, scratch paper and pencil, and water and snack in a clear container. So on test day, it's really important to wake up on time, eat a good breakfast, grab everything you need, which hopefully you've set out the night before, and you're going to want to head to the test center early. It's also important not to attempt any last-minute practice on the day of the test. Just want to relax and, be confident in what you know going into it. It's really important that you bring your, as we said before, just want to hit this point again, your admission ticket, your identification, number 2, pencils, 2 pens with blue or black ink, and then water and snack in clear container. Sorry, 2 pens with blue or black ink if you're taking the ISEE. Do not bring pens for the SSAT, and the SSAT is the focus of this webinar. So most of you will not be bringing your pens. Okay. So I seem to have some repeated slides here. So we will go back to test day, wake up on time, eat a good breakfast, grab everything you need, and head to the test center early. And then once again, do not attempt any last-minute practice the day of the test. So, does anyone have any questions? You can type them, if you do, in the Q&A section. And again, you can always email us as well, and I'll give you our email address on the next page. Okay, so it does not look like we have any questions at the moment. Oh, let me just see here. Looks like we might, so. Okay, so we do have a question. What questions are on the SAT? So, and this probably means the SSAT. So we have, I'm going to recommend, and this, I'll send out a link to this after the test, after the webinar, our prep guide, which will give you a great overview on what to expect on test day and the kinds of questions that are asked on the SSAT. So definitely recommend checking out our prep guide. It's a great free resource for you. Okay, and it looks like we have another question that's a little more involved. So I'm going to follow up with you via email for that question. So if you asked a question and I did not answer that, I will definitely follow up with you via email. Okay. So just just want to let you know we are here to help. Please visit our site, ssatpracticetest.com. You can also reach us by email at support@testinnovators.com or by phone at 1-800-280-1857. We are here 7 days a week, so please feel free to reach out to us anytime. I also, as I said before, I highly recommend checking out this free SSAT prep guide we have. It will give you an excellent overview of the test and the kinds of things you should expect on it, and some, more detailed tips and strategies for each section of the test. So I will be emailing out a copy of the prep guide along with this webinar recording after this webinar. So you should expect that in your inboxes most likely tomorrow. But if you don't get it, please feel free to reach out to us at support@testinnovators.com, and we'll be sure to get that over to you. So thank you all so much for coming. Again, if I didn't get to your question, I will follow up over email. And I hope that everyone here has a fantastic day. Thank you so much, and enjoy your evenings.